introduce to you our next homeschool graduate. I've actually known her since she was a little bit, and it's been really fun to watch her grow up and take on the world. I'd like to introduce to you Katie Charland. Katie, thank you for being here today.
Of course, I'm excited.
So Katie, let's just jump in. Since I've known you since you were little, but it's been um your homeschool journey has not been the norm. Like you started taking college classes when you were what age?
Like maybe like 10, 9, 10.
Yeah,
Around that.
Katie started taking classes at the local college when she was 10 years old. She did Spanish. And
Mhm.
so her homeschool journey has been really interesting to observe, watching her grow up. And so, Katie, can you share with us your homeschool journey, what the homeschooling was like for you as a teenager, and then life after graduation?
Yeah, so when I was a teenager through high school, I was homeschooled and it was really not being at home very much. We were involved in lots of stuff, like we were involved in sports, like hockey at the high school. I took community college classes through high school. We were involved in the local homeschool cooperative, which was classes at a local church once to twice a week, depending on what you took. Um, and then we also had our at home work, which was mainly taking it everywhere we went to. So yeah, it was very busy. It was very full of social events, social life, being involved in all sorts of things, music lessons too. Just a very all around open education.
Do you feel like you did more school in the car than you did at home?
Yes, lots of math in the car. Yes, that was not so fun, but it was good.
Well, I had mentioned that you started taking college classes with your mom and your brother. It was kind of a family event. You guys decided to go take classes Spanish at the local college, and then you moved into French,
Yep.
right? You took some classes during high school, some French classes, but you also for the homeschool group, you did create a whole book and a curriculum. You wrote that for them. So I remember you coming to me and saying, "Hey, I have this idea. We're teaching Spanish. We kind of like to make a book that would work really well with the program there." And we're like, "Sure, go for it." And so you created this book during high school, and it's actually still for sale on Amazon now. We still use it at the homeschool group. And I think, what was the name of the book that you wrote when you were?
It was Animo, Animo, and then the once a week Spanish class.
Yeah, and it's still available today. So that's been fun to watch and see that grow over the years. So what did you decide to do after graduation? Because you it wasn't like you went to school to do Spanish, right? Even though you wrote a Spanish curriculum, but what did you decide to do after graduation?
Yeah, so that was a little rocky a bit because I went to NIU, Northern Illinois University, to be a nurse, but I decided that wasn't for me. So I came back and I did 2 years at CLC, like actual community college, and then taking all those general education stuff while I figured out what I wanted to do. Um, so that was good. That was very fortunate that I was able to do that. And I decided I wanted to study law enforcement. So I went to Western Illinois for my last 2 years of school because they had a good law enforcement program. And then while I was there, I decided I didn't want to do that. Um, but it was good that I went there because I made a lot of connections with my professors who put me onto the mental health track, which we had taken a class on mental health in the prison system, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I don't think I want to be in law enforcement. So they suggested that I apply to the master's in counseling program at Bradley, which I did. Um, so I did that, and I took a year off in between that. I worked at the like a student center at Western. Um, and then I got into Bradley and I was able to do grad school for counseling for the next 3 years and work too at the student center. So that was fortunate too to have that flexible of a job and be able to do grad school. Um, and then I graduated from there in 2020. I did my internship and I'm now working as a therapist at a junior high in Galesburg.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Amazing. It's really incredible, like that you had enough wherewithal to try things and still go like, yeah, that's not for me. I want to try something different. And I think
yeah.
that's important for the homeschooling community, especially moms to hear that it might take a couple of tries of trying different things out. How do you feel that your homeschooling journey, you were homeschooled your whole life.
Mhm.
How do you feel that that prepared you to make those decisions and to try those different things during after graduation?
It definitely prepared me because throughout my whole life, like we were always doing all these different things and being able to try all these different things and go different places. So, I mean, it wasn't fun to decide I didn't want to do something in college and have to start over a little bit, but it wasn't abnormal for me to think of it in that way. I was like, okay, like I'll try something different and then we'll see how that goes. And like explore different avenues.
Yeah. Do you feel that your homeschool kind of had some gaps in it? Did it have any parts that kind of fell short for you?
I don't think academically it did. Very on top of academics, my mom was. But I think like for example, when it came to like playing hockey with people who went to public school and private school, sometimes I kind of felt like, oh, like I'm not like with all like the trends of society. Like it wasn't that hard to fit in and make friends because we were always surrounded by people. It's like I know how to talk to people, I know how to make friends, but I was like, I feel behind in like the social aspect, if that makes sense. And just
So,
like being like, oh, like what are they talking about? Like, oh, I don't know that. So
so
um
do you think that was because it was a lack of opportunity, or was it more just you having to navigate the different social circles?
I think just having to navigate the different social circles, because like a social circle is a lot different than a public school social circle. So it was just like, oh, so this is what these people talk about, then this is what I'm mainly surrounded by. And it was interesting to have to navigate that.
Yeah, that is interesting because even though you started off the conversation saying you were very, very busy
Yes.
and you were doing a lot of things, for
Yeah.
you, just kind of fitting into all these different groups
Mhm.
of people was a learning curve,
Yeah.
which I find interesting that now you're a therapist and you know how to navigate people. It was probably all that practice during high school.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's definitely been interesting working at a public school and seeing how that works because I've never been to public school. So
Oh.
yeah,
Have
yeah,
you
that's
have you
fun.
came across something as an adult and realized like, oh, that was never an issue for me because I didn't go to public school. My life didn't even give me the opportunity to experience something. Have you found any situations like that?
Yeah, like I don't know, like for example, like going to school, there's like 8 periods in a day. Like you have to be there at like 7 a.m. until 3 p.m. And I was like, well, yeah, we were busy more time than that during my day in high school, but it's so like it just feels like a 9 to 5 job or something. Like it's so structured, which I don't like. Our days were kind of structured if like we went to co-op or community college, but then besides that, it was just like doing what we could when we could and not like having to be in class on time like every hour of the day and all that.
So like Katie, like you're like I we had structure, but there was flexibility in that structure.
Yes,
Where if
exactly.
you're in the public school system or private school system in a brick and mortar school, you have to show up and be there.
Yeah,
And so you appreciated that part of your homeschooling experience, the flexibility.
yes, definitely.
Oh, good. So, you know, do you feel like you said that your mom was very academic oriented? Do you ever feel that your mom um, put too much pressure on you? Are you appreciative that she stayed on top of all the different areas that she required of you? She's basically following the homeschool laws, right? She's got to make sure that you have a solid foundation. But how do you feel about navigating a really academic schedule that you had?
I think there's pressure, of course. I think there's pressure with any kind of academics, really just an inherent pressure to do well overall. Um, Probably a little more in my case, but it wasn't like a bad thing because I definitely appreciated it when I got to college. I was like, oh, this is easy. So,
You're like, I survived my mom and the co-op teachers. College
right.
is easy.
Yeah, that's not easy, but I was like, okay, like I can do this. Like it wasn't a shock to go to college and be like, oh, I have work to do. It's like, okay, I'm used to having work to do and I can stay on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Katie, there are a lot of moms who are thinking about homeschooling in high school, or they're already in the middle of it. Like, I would love for you to give them some advice because it's one thing being the mom
Mhm.
and homeschooling and being the facilitator, but you lived it. This was your life. And could you give us moms some advice on homeschooling our teens?
Yes. So my advice would be, I guess, listen to your teenagers when they say that they want to be involved in something, like outside of homeschooling, like I was involved in hockey at the high school, or like being involved in different activities that are outside like the homeschool cooperative group or stuff that they wouldn't normally think of putting a homeschooler in, because there are a lot of opportunities for homeschoolers to be involved in stuff at schools too. Um, and I would say just like really listen and see like what they think they're missing and what they want to do and encourage them to pursue that and give them that opportunity if you can.
So you're suggesting that we have our teens be a part of the planning process. And did your mom do that for you? Did you guys, um, I heard, I heard someone in a conference say that they do like a family summit at the
Mhm.
beginning of the school year and kind of have a powwow. Did your family do that?
We didn't have like an official powwow, I guess, but like when we were like signing up for co-op classes and stuff, like we would be like, oh, like I don't really want to take this class, or I think I want to take this class, or I want to do this, or what else was I involved in? Like I did volleyball and basketball at HRK, for example, stuff like that, just stuff that like I knew I could speak up and be like, hey, like I think I want to try this out. And then it didn't always happen, and I had obviously had to take classes I didn't want to take, but
Yeah.
um, it was good to like be able to talk about that too and be a part of it.
Yeah, that's really important. And that's great advice that even we're homeschool parents, but it's not our education, it's our child's education. And to make them have some of the responsibility for that, it's like they own it.
Mhm.
Right. And it sounds like your mom did a beautiful job of creating this atmosphere for you to make these decisions, which if you hear your Katie's story, she was making decisions after graduation on what affected her life. And she was brave enough to change. Like you said, oh, I want to be a nurse. And you probably said that throughout high school. I'm going to be a nurse. I'm going to be a nurse. And then you go to college and you're like, oh my God, I hate being a nurse. And you were brave enough to say to everybody around you, this isn't working. I'm going to change it up and I'm going to try something different. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that just shows that you're a very mature adult um, right after graduation, because making life decisions and being brave enough to move forward with what you really want to do is a wonderful character trait. And that's why I wanted you to share your story, because I think it's really important for homeschool moms to hear that, hey, our kids are going to try things and they might not like it after a while, and it's okay, because they need that journey to become the adults that they're meant to be. And I really appreciate that your willingness to come and share your stories. And it's been amazing to watch you grow up. And I do appreciate that you taking your time out to share your story with the moms and dads here. Thank you so much, Katie.
It was a pleasure to talk about it all.
Thank you. Have a good night. I'll talk to you later.
You too.